Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Before we dive into tonight's stories, I want to share something with you that'll make your next night drive a little more unsettling. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, there's a disproportionate number of unexplained accidents that occur between 2 and 4 a.m. On rural highways, accidents where drivers simply veer off the road with no clear cause, no alcohol, no mechanical failure, nothing. When investigators interview survivors, many of them can't remember what happened in those final moments before the crash. Some don't even remember deciding to drive that route at all. Tonight I've got 4 stories that might explain why. These are accounts I've collected from various sources, some sent in by you. The listeners, others found in old forums and police reports that never quite made sense. Each one takes place on a dark road, late at night, when you're alone with nothing but your headlights and whatever might be watching from the darkness beyond them. So if you're listening to this while driving at night, well, maybe pull over for the next 40 minutes. Trust me on that one. Let's get into it. This first story was sent to me by a truck driver named Marcus from Oregon. He swears this happened to him back in 2019 on Highway 26, heading east through the Cascade Range. Marcus has been driving trucks for 23 years, and he told me he's never taken that route at night again. Here's what happened. It was around 1:30 a.m. on a Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, technically. Marcus had just finished a delivery in Portland and was heading back to Bend. The highway was completely empty, which wasn't unusual for that time of night. The road winds through dense forest, and there are long stretches where you won't see another car for 30, 40 minutes. He was about halfway through his route when he saw her standing on the shoulder. A woman in a white dress, her arm outstretched, thumb up. A hitchhiker.
Wow.
Marcus's first instinct was to keep driving. He'd heard all the stories. And picking up hitchhikers at 1:30 a.m. in the middle of nowhere isn't exactly smart. But as his headlights swept over her, he saw her face. She looked terrified. Her dress was torn, she had no shoes, and even from the truck, Marcus could see she was shaking. He told me his wife would kill him if he left someone stranded like that, especially a woman who looked like she was running from something. So against his better judgment, he slowed down. The woman ran to the passenger door and climbed in before he could even fully stop. She didn't say thank you, didn't say anything at all, just sat there, staring straight ahead, breathing hard. "You okay?" Marcus asked. "Do you need me to call the police?"
Hey.
She shook her head violently. No police. Just, please. Her voice was strange, hollow. But Marcus figured she'd been through something traumatic. So he put the truck in gear and got back on the highway. For the first few minutes, she didn't say anything. Marcus kept glancing over at her, trying to figure out what to do. She was soaking wet, he realized, even though it hadn't rained. Her hair was plastered to her face, and water was dripping onto the seat. "There's a gas station about 20 miles up," Marcus said. "I can drop you there. You can call someone or—" "Don't stop," she interrupted. "Please don't stop. Look, I'm trying to help, but I need to know. He's following us." Marcus felt his blood run cold. He checked his mirrors. It's nothing but empty road behind them. "Who's following us?" "My husband." She turned to look at Marcus for the first time, and he said something about her eyes felt wrong, too wide, too dark. "He doesn't like it when I leave. If you're in danger, I really should call. You can't stop. If you stop, he'll catch up." Marcus didn't know what to think. The woman could be in genuine danger, or she could be mentally ill, or high on something. But something about the desperation in her voice made him keep driving. They drove in silence for another 10 minutes. Marcus kept checking his mirrors obsessively now, but the road behind them remained empty. He was just starting to relax when the woman spoke again. "There he is." Marcus looked in his mirror. Far back, maybe half a mile, there were headlights. Single car, moving fast. "That's just another driver," Marcus said, trying to sound reassuring. "This is a highway. Other people use it. That's him." Her voice was flat now, dead. "He always finds me. The car behind them was gaining. Marcus looked at his speedometer. He was going 65, right at the speed limit. The car behind them had to be pushing 90. "How fast was your husband driving when you saw him before?" Marcus asked, trying to keep his voice steady. The woman didn't answer. She was gripping the door handle so hard her knuckles were white. The car was closing the distance fast now. Marcus could see it clearly in his mirrors, a dark sedan with one headlight out. It was maybe a quarter-mile back. Then the woman did something that made Marcus's blood freeze. She started unbuckling her seatbelt. "What are you doing?" Marcus asked. "You have to let me out. We're going 65 miles an hour. You have to let me out before he reaches us. If he catches me while I'm with you, he'll hurt you too." The car was 100 yards back now. Marcus could feel his heart pounding. Every instinct told him something was very wrong about this entire situation. "I'm not letting you out of a moving vehicle," Marcus said firmly. "We're almost to the gas station. There'll be people there. Cameras. If this guy is threatening you..." The woman turned to him, and this time, Marcus got a good look at her face. Her skin was gray, not pale gray, like old meat. And her eyes, there was no white in them at all, just black from edge to edge. "You should have listened," she said softly. The car behind them was right on his bumper now. Marcus looked up at his mirror to see it, but the headlights were so bright they blinded him. He squinted, trying to see the driver, and that's when he realized something. The car behind him wasn't on the road. It was floating about 6 inches above the asphalt. Marcus slammed on the brakes. The truck's wheels locked up and he went into a skid. He cranked the wheel, trying to maintain control, and the truck fishtailed across both lanes before finally sliding to a stop sideways across the highway. When he looked over at the passenger seat, the woman was gone. The door was still closed. The seatbelt was still unbuckled, but she had vanished. He looked in his mirrors. The road behind him was empty. No headlights. No dark sedan. Nothing. Marcus sat there for almost 10 minutes, his hands shaking on the wheel, trying to make sense of what had just happened. Finally, he put the truck in gear and drove the rest of the way to Bend, just under the speed limit, checking his mirrors every few seconds. When he got home, he told his wife everything. She believed him. She tells you something about Marcus's character. Met his wife of 17 years, knew he wouldn't make something like this up. They did some research, and here's what they found. In 1987, a woman named Patricia Wendell was murdered on Highway 26 by her husband after she tried to leave him. He ran her off the road near mile marker 47, exactly where Marcus had picked up the hitchhiker. Her body wasn't found for 3 days because he'd thrown her into the ravine. The husband killed himself a week later. Police reports described Patricia as wearing a white dress when she died, and that she'd been thrown into a creek before being dumped in the ravine. She was soaking wet when they found her. Marcus says he still drives trucks, but he's requested a different route. He won't go near Highway 26 anymore, especially not at night. And he'll never pick up another hitchhiker, no matter how desperate they look. This next story comes from a woman named Sarah in Michigan. She posted about this experience in a forum I follow, and when I reached out to her, she agreed to let me share it. This happened to her in the fall of 2021. Sarah had been visiting her sister in Traverse City and was driving back to Ann Arbor, a trip that takes about 3.5 hours. She'd stayed later than planned and didn't hit the road until almost midnight. She wasn't worried. She'd made the drive dozens of times, and most of it was highway. About an hour into the drive, she exited onto a rural 2-lane road that cut through farming country. This part of the drive usually took 45 minutes, and she rarely saw another car. The road was dark, lined with cornfields and patches of forest. She was going about 55 miles per hour when the deer appeared in her headlights. It was standing in the middle of the road, maybe 60 feet ahead. A big buck with a massive rack of antlers. Sarah hit the brakes immediately. She'd had a close call with a deer once before and knew how much damage they could do. The deer didn't move. It just stood there, staring at her car. Its eyes reflected her headlights in that eerie way deer eyes do, glowing white in the darkness. Sarah laid on the horn. Nothing. The deer didn't even flinch. She waited. 15 seconds, 30, a minute. The deer just stood there, perfectly still, staring at her. Finally, Sarah decided to try driving around it. There was just enough room on the shoulder. She put the car in gear, turned the wheels slightly, and started to ease forward. The deer turned its head to follow her movement. Sarah stopped. There was something wrong with the way it moved. It's too smooth, too deliberate. Deer were skittish animals. They spooked at everything. This thing was tracking her like a predator. She decided to try the horn again. This time she held it down for 5 full seconds. The sound echoed across the empty fields. The deer opened its mouth. Sarah told me she'd seen a lot of deer in her life, lived in Michigan her whole life, and she'd never seen one do what this deer did. Its jaw just kept opening. Wider and wider, far beyond what should have been possible. She could see inside its mouth, see that there was nothing there. No tongue, no throat. Darkness that seemed to go on forever. And then it screamed. Sarah said it didn't sound like any animal she'd ever heard. It was high-pitched and metallic, like feedback from a microphone mixed with a human shriek. The sound was so loud she could feel it in her chest. She slammed the car into reverse and hit the gas. The tires squealed as she shot backward down the road. She kept her eyes on the deer or whatever it was, and watched it take a step toward her. Then another. It was walking on its hind legs now, like a person, its front legs dangling at its sides. Sarah reversed for maybe 100 feet before she cranked the wheel and did a 3-point turn. The moment her headlights left the thing in the road, she floored it back the way she'd come. She drove for 2 minutes, heart hammering, checking her rearview mirror every second. The road behind her was dark, empty. Then her headlights caught something ahead. The deer was standing in the road again, in front of her this time. That wasn't possible. She'd just driven 2 miles back toward Traverse City. There was no way it could have gotten ahead of her. But there it was, in the exact same position, standing in the center of the road. Sarah didn't slow down this time. She gripped the wheel and drove straight at it, praying it would move or that she was hallucinating or that this was all some kind of nightmare. At the last second, the thing stepped aside. Sarah shot past it, going 70 miles per hour on a road where the limit was 55. She didn't care. She just needed to get away from that thing. She drove for another mile before she saw the headlights behind her. They were far back, maybe half a mile, but they were there. A single car following her. Sarah accelerated. The car behind her accelerated too, matching her speed. She was going 80 now, way too fast for this road, but she couldn't make herself slow down. The headlights behind her were getting closer. Then she came around a curve and saw it again. The deer was standing in the road. Sarah screamed and swerved. Her car left the road, plowed through a wooden fence, and slid sideways through a muddy field before finally slamming into a drainage ditch. The impact wasn't too bad. She was wearing her seatbelt, and the field was soft, but it stunned her. She sat there for a moment, dazed, waiting for the airbag smell to clear. When she looked up at the road, she saw the deer walking toward her car, still on its hind legs, its front legs swaying with each step. Sarah tried to start the car. Engine turned over, but wouldn't catch. She tried again. Nothing. The deer was at the edge of the field now, maybe 50 feet away. She tried the engine one more time, pumping the gas, whispering, "Please, please, please." It started. Sarah threw the car into reverse and hit the gas. The wheels spun in the mud for a horrible few seconds before finally catching. The car lurched backward out of the ditch, and Sarah cranked the wheel, getting back onto the field. She could see the deer in her headlights now, running toward her on its hind legs, impossibly fast. She got back onto the road and floored it. This time, she didn't see the deer again. Sarah drove all the way back to Traverse City and spent the night at her sister's house. In the morning, she called a tow truck to get her car out of the field. The driver asked her what happened, and she told him she swerved to avoid a deer. He nodded, That was common enough around here and loaded up her car. As they were leaving, Sarah looked back at the field. There were tracks in the mud, her car's tire tracks leading to and from the ditch. But there was something else too. Footprints. Human footprints. They led from the road to where her car had crashed, then stopped. Sarah takes a different route home now. It adds 30 minutes to her drive, but she doesn't care. She's never going back to that road, and she's told me she'll never drive alone at night again if she can help it. This story was sent to me by a guy named David from Texas. He's a salesman, drives all over the state for work. And this happened to him about 6 months ago on a trip from Dallas to El Paso. David had been driving for about 5 hours and was somewhere west of Abilene when he realized he was running on fumes. He passed the last gas station 30 miles back and hadn't seen a sign for another one. His GPS said the next town was 40 miles ahead too far. So then he saw a sign, "Welcome to Millbrook Pop." 437, David didn't remember seeing Millbrook on his GPS. He wasn't about to question his luck. He took the exit and followed a 2-lane road into town. The first thing he noticed was how dark it was. There were streetlights, but only every third or fourth one was actually working, casting weak pools of yellow light onto the empty street. The buildings were old 1950s architecture, maybe earlier, and many of them looked abandoned. Broken windows, faded signs, that sort of thing. But there were lights on in some of the buildings. Not many, but enough to show that people lived here. David could see curtains in windows, cars parked on the street, a dog barking somewhere in the distance. He drove slowly through town looking for a gas station. Streets were laid out in a simple grid, and after a couple of turns he found what he was looking for. A small gas station with a single pump out front. The sign above it said Millbrook Service, in letters that had probably been read once but had faded to pink. David pulled up to the pump and got out. The air smelled wrong. Not bad, exactly. Just off. Like old metal and something sweet he couldn't quite identify. The pump was ancient. One of those old-fashioned ones where the numbers flip mechanically instead of showing up on a digital screen. David ran his credit card, but the reader didn't work. Tried again. Nothing. The door to the station's office was open, light spilling out onto the concrete. David walked over and looked inside. A man was sitting behind the counter. He was old 70, maybe older, with white hair and deep wrinkles. He was reading a newspaper, and he didn't look up when David entered. "Pump's not taking my card," David said. The old man still didn't look up. "Cash only." David checked his wallet. He had $43. "Okay, sure. Can I get $20 on pump 1? The old man finally looked up. His eyes were milky with cataracts, but there was something sharp in them, something that made David uncomfortable. "You're not from around here," the old man said. It wasn't a question. "No, sir. Just passing through." Running low on gas, the old man stared at him for a long moment, then went back to his newspaper. $20, pump 1. David handed over the money and went back to his car. As he pumped the gas, he looked around the town. Something felt wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. The streets were too quiet. The lights in the buildings were too still, no movement, no flickering from TVs or people walking past windows. He finished pumping and got back in his car. As he was about to pull away, he noticed something. All the cars parked on the street were old. Not classic cars that people restore, just old. A 1980s sedan, 1970s pickup truck, nothing newer than maybe 1995. David pulled back onto the main street and started driving toward the exit. That's when he saw the church. It was at the far end of town, a small white building with a steeple.
Oh.
There were cars parked in front of it and lights on inside. Through the windows, David could see people, lots of them, maybe 40 or 50, all sitting in the pews. He slowed down. It was after 1 a.m. What kind of church service happened at 1 a.m. on a Thursday? As he drove past, every single person in the church turned to look at him. In unison, like they'd been waiting for him to drive by. David hit the gas and got the hell out of there. He found the road that led back to the highway and didn't slow down until he was back on I-20, headed west, with his cruise control set at exactly the speed limit. When he got to El Paso, he was curious enough to look up Millbrook, Texas. He found nothing. No town by that name anywhere in Texas. He tried searching for Millbrook service and variations of it. Nothing. He even called his friend who was from that part of Texas, asked if he'd ever heard of a small town called Millbrook, west of Abilene. His friend said no, and that he'd grown up around there. He didn't know if there was a town he'd never heard of. David says he's driven that route 3 more times since then, and he always pays close attention to that stretch of highway. He's never seen the exit again. No sign for Millbrook, no turnoff, nothing. It's like the town was never there. But he kept the receipt from the gas station. He showed it to me. Stated correctly. Shows $20 for gas. And at the top it says Millbrook Service, Millbrook TX. He keeps it in his wallet now. Proof that he didn't imagine the whole thing. This last story is one that genuinely disturbs me every time I think about it. It was sent to me by a woman named Jennifer from Colorado, and it happened to her and her boyfriend about 3 years ago. Jennifer and her boyfriend Tyler were driving back from a camping trip in Rocky Mountain National Park. They'd left later than planned. By the time they got on the road, it was already 11 p.m. They had about a 2-hour drive back to Denver. The first hour went fine. They were talking, listening to music, enjoying the night drive. The roads through the mountains were empty, just them and the occasional truck. Then Tyler said he needed to use the bathroom. Jennifer said she could hold it until they got closer to Denver, but Tyler said he couldn't wait. So they started looking for a rest stop. They drove for another 20 minutes before they saw a sign. Rest area 5 miles. Perfect. They followed the signs and eventually turned into a small rest area. There was a parking lot with maybe 10 spaces, a small brick building with bathrooms, and a single streetlight that barely worked. No other cars. Tyler went to use the bathroom while Jennifer stayed in the car. She checked her phone, no signal, which wasn't surprising this far from town. Tyler came back after a few minutes, got in the car, and they pulled back onto the highway. They drove for about 15 minutes. Jennifer was just nodding off when Tyler suddenly hit the brakes. "What the hell?" said Jennifer. Looked up. It was a sign ahead. Rest area -5 miles. "That's weird," Jennifer said. "Same sign." "It has to be a different one," Tyler said. But there was uncertainty in his voice. They kept driving. 5 miles later, they pulled into a rest area. Small parking lot, brick building, broken streetlight, no other cars. "Is this the same one?" Jennifer asked. Tyler didn't answer. He was staring at the building. I think it might be." "That's impossible. We've been driving away from it for 20 minutes. Tyler pulled into a parking space, the same spot he'd parked in before. Jennifer noticed and got out. He walked over to the building and looked around. Then he called back to Jennifer. "Come look at this." Jennifer got out and walked over. Tyler was pointing at the bathroom door. There was a crack in the bricks next to it, shaped like a lightning bolt. Tyler pointed to the ground. There was a cigarette butt in the corner, next to a pile of leaves. "These were here before," Tyler said. "I remember seeing them. That crack, that cigarette." "Yeah, this is the same rest stop." "We drove in the opposite direction," Jennifer said. "We've been going straight for 20 minutes. This can't be the same place." They got back in the car. Tyler pulled up his GPS, but there was no signal. He tried Jennifer's phone. Same thing. "Let's just keep driving," Jennifer said. "Maybe there are 2 rest stops that look similar." They pulled back onto the highway. This time, Jennifer watched the odometer. They drove exactly 15 miles. Then the sign appeared again. Rest area -5 miles. "No," Tyler said. "No, this isn't happening. Keep driving," Jennifer said. "Don't stop, just keep driving." They did. 5 miles later, the rest area appeared on the right. Same parking lot, same building, same broken streetlight. Tyler drove past it, accelerated to 70, then 80 miles per hour. They drove for 20 minutes, neither of them speaking, watching the odometer click up. 27 miles? Then the sign. Rest area, -5 miles. Jennifer felt ice water pour through her veins. Tyler, I know. This doesn't make sense. We've driven almost 30 miles. We should be close to the city by now. We should see lights. Other cars, I know. The rest area appeared again. Tyler slowed down, and Jennifer saw something that made her stomach drop. There was a car in the parking lot now. Their car. She could see it. Parked in the same spot where Tyler had parked both times before. Tyler, she whispered. Tyler, that's our car. That's impossible. Look at the license plate. Tyler stopped their car in the middle of the road, both of them staring at the vehicle in the parking lot. It was their car. Same make, same model, same license plate. And there were two figures inside it. The driver was a man. The passenger was a woman. They looked exactly like Tyler and Jennifer. The Jennifer in the parked car was looking down at her phone. The Tyler in the parked car was staring straight ahead at the bathroom building. Drive, Jennifer said. Tyler, drive. Drive right now. Tyler hit the gas and they shot past the rest area. Jennifer turned around to look back at it through the rear window. As they passed, she saw the Tyler in the parked car turn his head to watch them drive by. They drove for another 10 minutes in silence. Then Tyler said, I'm going to try something. He pulled the car to the side of the road and turned around, started driving in the opposite direction. They drove for 15 minutes. The sign appeared. Rest area -5 miles. Tyler made a choked sound. Jennifer reached over and grabbed his hand. They came to the rest area. Their car was parked in the lot. This time, both of them, the other Tyler and Jennifer, were getting out of the car, walking toward the bathroom. Don't stop, Jennifer said. Whatever you do, don't stop. Tyler kept driving. As they passed, Jennifer looked back and saw the other Jennifer turn around. Their eyes met for just a second. The other Jennifer's mouth opened like she was going to scream. Then they were past it. They drove 4 hours. Jennifer lost count of how many times they passed the rest area. Sometimes their car was in the parking lot. Sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes they saw themselves. Sometimes the parking lot was empty. Tyler was crying now, his hands locked on the wheel. We're never getting out, he kept saying. We're never getting out. Jennifer was about to agree with him when she saw something different. Another car at the rest area. Not theirs, a truck. A big rig parked on the far side of the lot. Tyler, stop. Tyler hit the brakes. What? No, we can't stop. There's another car there. A truck. That means someone else is here. Maybe they can help. They pulled into the rest area. The truck was definitely real. Jennifer could hear its engine idling. They parked and got out. A man was standing next to the truck, smoking a cigarette. He was in his 60s, wearing a trucker cap and a flannel jacket. He looked at them with no surprise at all. You two been driving in circles? He asked. Jennifer felt like she might cry. Yes, we can't get out. Keep ending up back here. The trucker nodded. Happened to me once, about 20 years ago. Drove the same loop for 8 hours before I figured it out. Figured what out? Tyler asked. You stopped here, the trucker said. Yeah. You used the bathroom, you got back in your car and you left. But you didn't really leave. You're still here. Part of you got stuck in this place. That doesn't make any sense, Jennifer said. Doesn't have to make sense. But it's what happened. The trucker took a drag from his cigarette. Shh. You've got to break the loop. You've got to do something different. Something you didn't do before. Like what? Tyler asked. The trucker shrugged. That's up to you, but you better figure it out soon. The longer you stay in the loop, the harder it gets to remember there's anything outside of it. He climbed back into his truck. And before Jennifer could say anything else, he pulled out of the parking lot and drove away. His taillights disappeared into the darkness, and they didn't see him again. Tyler and Jennifer stood there for a long time, trying to figure out what to do. Finally, Jennifer said, "When we stopped here the first time, you used the bathroom and I stayed in the car." "Yeah," Tyler said. So this time, we both used the bathroom. Together, it sounded stupid, but they were desperate. They walked into the bathroom building together. It smelled like old concrete and chemicals. Were 3 stalls and 2 sinks. Nothing unusual.
Oh.
They washed their hands. Neither of them actually had to use the bathroom and walked back out. Their car was gone. They stood there, staring at the empty parking space where their car had been, and then Jennifer started laughing. Hysterical, relieved laughter. "Is it gone?" Tyler asked. "Like gone? Check your pockets." Tyler pulled out his car keys, held them up, clicked the button. A car horn honked behind them. They spun around. Their car was parked on the other side of the lot, but had never been parked before. They ran to it, got in, and Tyler started the engine. As they pulled out of the rest area, Jennifer looked back. The place was empty. Just a small rest stop on a dark highway. Nothing special about it at all. They drove for 45 minutes and made it to Denver without seeing the rest area again. Jennifer told me they still take that highway sometimes, and they've never seen that rest stop. They've looked for it, even tried to find it on purpose, but it's not there. Just the regular rest stops that show up on GPS and have other cars and seem like normal places. Tyler refuses to stop at rest areas anymore. If he needs to use the bathroom on a long drive, he waits until he finds a gas station in a town. Jennifer can't really blame him. Closing. So there you have it. 4 stories about driving at night that I can't quite explain away as coincidence or overactive imaginations. Maybe there's a rational explanation for all of them. Maybe Marcus picked up a mentally ill woman and panicked. Maybe Sarah saw a deer and her fear made her see things that weren't there. Maybe David drove through a dying town and his memory played tricks on him. Maybe Jennifer and Tyler got disoriented on dark mountain roads and drove in an actual circle. Or maybe there's something about driving alone at night, on those empty roads where civilization seems very far away, that opens a door to places and things we're not meant to encounter. I don't have answers. I just collect the stories. If you've had your own experience with something strange on a night drive, I'd love to hear about it. You can send your stories to the email in the description below. Who knows, maybe yours will end up in a future video. If you enjoyed these stories, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. It really helps me out and lets me know you want to hear more of these accounts. You can also hit that notification bell so you don't miss when I post new videos. Thanks for listening, everyone. Drive safe out there. And if you see someone or something on the side of the road late at night, maybe think twice before stopping. Till next time.